I think supply chain has, frankly, and I may be sounding a little abrupt out here, but I think supply chain has not really had the kind of focus and attention that the way it deserved, at least in the recent past or earlier in the past. It is only actually recently that it has become more and more important, and people are developing newer supply chain models and newer strategies. Earlier, I mean, as a background, one has to understand that I think as a nation, if you purely go by numbers, I think at 14% of GDP or so, we have been one of the most inefficient supply chains in the world. The global average is more like about 7%. Of course, this is a number and it has a lot of variables in this. The kind of consumption basket which we have, uh, you know, so many commodities and food items, etc., being part of that. So there are some variables which need to be considered, but as an indicator, it's still good enough to say that yes, our supply chains have been fundamentally inefficient. And one of the important reasons for this has been that we have been a highly fragmented supply chain. Now, this has been, of course, due to historical reasons. I think in India, supply chain never really developed on the basis of first principles of supply chain. And I'm talking about nation as a whole and not smaller and stray examples of some evolved product companies and evolved setups, but more as a nation. So we are the only country which used to, have small go downs, if I may use that word, all over the countryside, trying to serve the needs, the demand out there. There was no really scale which was there in place. Since there was no scale, there was hardly any use of automation or technology to come in historically. Over the last few years, and I must say that GST to that extent has been an important policy change which came in, stopped only nation, federation of states which we are, which was actually charging or taxing the movement of material from one state to another or one province to another, sometimes even one city to another city. Now, some of those things have been brought down. Now, with this, now you see technology seeping in its true shape and form. As I said, there have been evolved setups. There have been stray examples wherein good quality automation has come in. And on the softer side, which is on the digitization side, of course, there has been again a lot of progress which has happened. But I think these have all been accelerated and these are now becoming more and more important and need of the hour only in the last 3-4 years. I think one important change from the industry perspective has been the incoming of e-commerce. I think it did change the game a little bit. The need for speed became a very, very important dimension, very important variable. And of course, with improvement in road infrastructure, etc., I think the overall turnaround times have also become much better. So with this now, I think we've seen technology playing an important role. So let me now differentiate between two things. One is, of course, the pure automation side. And we, for example, as a supply chain service provider, we have attempted to use good state-of-the-art automation in various activities which happen both in warehousing as well as logistics. So whether it is inbound automation, robotics, very high-class sorting systems, etc., depending on the kind of domain which we are in, I think now technology is seeping in very well in this oft ignored supply chain sector. I mean, I may be fairly crude in saying that supply chain, frankly speaking, has been a necessary evil earlier in the past and was never really considered by most as a matter of, as an area of competitive advantage. But that is one aspect which is now changing quite a bit. On the digitization side, which is largely the softer side or software side, I think we now see fairly evolved systems. Again, speaking from our perspective, whether it is good quality warehouse management systems or transport management systems, analytics which is coming in, a lot of these things But I must say, right now they are coming in bits and pieces, which is independent islands. Uh, Integration with the overall ecosystem, I think, still remains an area of opportunity oblique concern, whichever way one looks at it. So while there are bits and pieces of good quality technology coming in, I think there is a lot more work needs to be done. I prefer to call it that even today, we don't really have evolved systems wherein we have what I call it a single version of truth, SVOT, wherein the entire ecosystem, whether it is our transporter, our own teams, different functions within the company as a service provider, and the different functions at the customer side, all synchronously on the same platform in real time. I think that level of integration is something which is still missing. But I'm happy to say that yes, uh, as I said, many customers and many service providers are now realizing the need for this. I think we are seeing concrete steps happening, whether in form of control towers coming in, or whether it is, as I said, some SPOT kind of systems, which is a real-time workbench uh, stepping in. Of course, things like robotics and things like conveyors, etc., is or just using GPRS for consignment visibility, GPS for truck visibility, etc. It's kind of passive. I think these are all things which will come basis the need and the ROI kind of an analysis.